So I want you to think about, how were you raised? How were you raised and how did it affect you? How is it affecting you now? Believe it or not, I don't care how long ago it is. I don't care how long ago it happened. I don't care how many years ago that an event happened. It will hold its memory inside of us, inside of our heart, inside of our energetic field, inside of our mind. No matter how long it happened, it will hold its space until you identify it, look at it, and heal it. So I want you to look at the things that happened to you and ask yourself, is it worth holding on to? Is it worth the anxiety? Is it worth the depression? Is it worth feeling scared and paranoid and on edge? Is it worth it? I'm here to tell you for myself, no, it wasn't worth it. It was not worth it. And to be honest, I know it's not worth it for you. You can wake up feeling happy. You can wake up feeling joyful and love and peace and feeling good. It's possible. It's possible. Okay? It just starts here. It starts in the mind. It starts being able to shift your thoughts in the way you think about the things that happened. Okay? I know it's not easy, but it's doable. Okay? It's doable. And I just want you to know that it's none of the things that happen to you are your fault. None of them are your fault. They are simply circumstances that occurred in order to test you. And you've been through the ringer, but I'm telling you, it is all by design to give you the power that you need in this lifetime. I really hope that you can find clarity in this message, realizing the things that took place and how they've shaped you, how they've made you into who you are, but also how you have the power, you have the keys to shift the way you see it in order to utilize it for a more empowered life. The most important thing that I want you to take from today's message, today's information, the most important thing that I want you to take from today's information is simply this. The things that we have experienced has shaped us into who we are. But that does not mean we have to stay or remain who we are in this very moment. If you know that you are experiencing symptoms and side effects of being traumatized, then this here is your reminder that it's time to heal, that it's time to take the time to look at the things that happened to you, to take the time to process those events, to forgive those people, and to let go of the pain. When we experience traumatic events, the number one thing that I would say that we like to do is either replay the event, relive the event, either through reflection or telling people about it, or we go completely opposite and stuff it down and pretend like it never happened and try not to look at it and do everything to forget about it. But we can try to do that with our minds, but our hearts and our nervous system will not forget. A matter of fact, our energy field will do everything it has to do to get us to look at what's bothering us, to look at what's making us sad, to look at what's causing us anxiety. The reason that I believe that I am so compassionate about the healing journey is because I was surprised that I needed to heal. Believe it or not, all the things that I went through, I was like a warrior. After the war, I was like, okay, what's next? I'm ready. I can get through anything. And Spirit was like, girl, you need to lay down. You need to sit down. You need to reflect. You need to heal. And I was like, no, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to remember that, And by my surprise, I was forced to do it. I had to look at it. I had to reflect on it because, hey, 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 beautiful people. I hope this message finds you feeling good. I hope this video finds you feeling peace, well in your mind, well in your body, and at the very least, hopefully, after listening to this video, it could definitely bring you some clarity, some peace, and help you feel empowered on the journey of healing and self-love. So, as you know, my name is Yazil, and I'm all things healing and self-love and just becoming a better version of yourself. And this week, I really wanted to talk about trauma because I realized that I create a lot of content talking about self-love, loving yourself, healing, opening your heart, breaking free. But the thing is, I've never really went into details on why that's necessary or who that message is for, right? So I wanted to take some time to get, a little more up close and personal with you all and dive into the topic of trauma, not just any trauma, complex trauma. Complex trauma is different from the other types of trauma, right? And I wanted to share a little bit with you about some of the trauma that I've experienced because I realized I've been through a lot. I have been through the ringer. And I kept hearing in my spirit trauma, trauma, trauma. And I'm like, okay. So I started doing some research and I wanted to know more. I wanted to know really what is trauma and how many types of trauma are there. And I started digging and I kind of went into a little bit of a rabbit hole to start understanding my own trauma. And the type of trauma that came up is complex trauma. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but in this video, we're going to talk about what complex trauma is, how to identify it, within yourself and within others. We're also going to talk about the importance of understanding the traits of complex trauma. This way, you guys can get a better understanding of maybe why you do some of the things you do or why you feel the way you feel. If this is your first time hearing about complex trauma, don't worry about it. We're going to break it down because it was my first time hearing about it as well. And to be honest, I was really shocked that there was a thing called this, but I can tell you this, I truly identify with it. I do. So we're going to break it down in this video. Get you something to drink, get you a good blanket or whatever you need to feel comfortable, and let's get into it. So, complex trauma happens when someone experiences repeated, prolonged, or multiple traumatic events. Okay. Especially during early development, when you're like a child, when you're young, and you go through different things that alter who you are. These events often feel inescapable, like ongoing abuse, neglect, or living in unpredictable environments. So when you were a child, if you experienced trauma, whether it was physical, emotional, mental, any of the above, this could have, and it constantly happened like all the time. Maybe, like for me, my parents always were fighting. Like anytime my mom and my dad got together, there was an argument, there was a fight, there was name calling, there was cussing, there was hitting, there was drama. And this was always happening. So as a child, it kept me on edge. I never knew when the next blow was coming, when the next situation would come where, I would be scared, or where I would be crying, or any of the above. So complex trauma happens when someone experiences repeated, prolonged traumatic events. Okay. Think of a plant growing in rocky soil. The plant may still grow, but its roots struggle, and it might not thrive as it would in a healthier soil. So, complex trauma is like rocky soil for our emotional and mental growth. Okay. And it affects who we are. It affects who we are as a child and who we become as adults. So, ask yourself, have you experienced multiple traumatic events reoccurring over and over and over for as long as you can remember? Well, that is the indicator that you may have complex trauma. And I know that for myself, oh, I'm definitely a victim of it. I'm definitely one who has experienced it. And to be honest, I am just so full of gratitude that out of all the things that I've experienced in this life, that I could sit here today to reach out my hand to try to pull you up, to try to help you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes it's so easy to carry the weight of the things we've been through, to hold our heads low, to feel ashamed, to feel unworthy of love, in addition to pushing others away, being afraid of being in relationships, being afraid of connecting with people, being afraid of opening our hearts and trusting because of the things we've been through. But I'm here to tell you that is a prison, and it is no way to live. I want to just take a moment and just give you the permission to cry. I've met people who feel that it's wrong to cry. If you grew up in a household around people who taught you it was unsafe to cry or to feel emotions, I want to give you the permission today to get rid of that thinking. When I was younger, we would get whooped. And while you're getting whooped, my grandmother would say, "You better not cry. Stop crying. Stop crying. Whack, whack, stop crying. You better not cry. You cry, I'm going to give you more." And you think, like, how am I not supposed to cry? You're beating me. You're whacking me. You're hitting me. You're hurting me. How am I not supposed to cry? But now that I think about it, this actually taught me not to feel my emotions. This taught me to suppress and to hold back what I actually felt. The way you feel on a daily basis is your indicator to know that you need to heal. If you wake up feeling heavy, feeling sad, feeling overwhelmed, being unsatisfied with yourself, being unsatisfied with your circumstances, If you're not happy with yourself, if you're not happy with yourself, that is a great indicator that you need to heal. And your appearance is another way to tell if you need to heal. The way you look, right? Whew. I'm going to post these pictures of me of how I looked going through the domestic violence marriage, going through the PTSD, going through all the things that I was going through and having to heal it. Oh, baby, I did not look like this. All this glow, all this light, this came from doing the work, okay? This came from doing the work. Now, I'm not going to say I wasn't a decent looking person, but I didn't shine like this. So your appearance can be another way to tell that you need to heal, okay? Another part or another sign of that you may have experience, like you may have complex trauma, is when you feel like you need to be perfect in order to be loved. Feeling like people are always judging you, or you have to be this cookie cutter perfect thing in order to be accepted or in order to be loved. Another sign of complex trauma is feeling like you don't want to get close to people because you don't want to get hurt, or you don't want them to abandon you. Like you don't want them to leave you, so you withdraw or you don't open up. What that is our nervous system tries to protect us. So when when you've experienced complex trauma, multiple events, multiple pains, multiple losses, it alters you. It begins to change you into this different type of person. And that is what I want to talk to you all about today. I want you to be able to identify how the things that happened to you has changed you, how it's altered you, how it's made you the way you are today. Because once you identify these things, you can change your behavior. You can heal it, but you have to feel it. You have to know that this happened. You have to be able to look at it. Okay. Okay. So now that we understand the definition of complex trauma, I just want you to take a moment to realize that every event in your life, whether good or traumatic, has accumulated to make you who you are today. And for me, the journey of healing is about identifying those events, specifically the traumatic ones, and peeling back the layers to get a better understanding of what took place. So think of it as organizing or processing the things that took place. A lot of times it's hard to look at the things that happened to us. Like we don't want to go there. We try to do everything else but remember our past. We try to do everything else but reflect on the pain. But I'm here to tell you that that is not the best way. I did it for a long time, okay? I did it for years. For years, I tried to suppress how I felt. Like I really got good at it. I got so good at suppressing my trauma that I actually believed that it didn't happen. Right? I got so good at pushing it down and pushing it away and not looking at it that I believed it didn't happen. And then there came a point in my life where all the memories started coming, all the flashbacks, all of the reminders of what took place started flooding forward, and the emotions, the feeling like I was in danger, the feeling like something was going to happen, the feeling like I wasn't safe started happening. And I didn't like it. And I tried to do everything to numb it, to stop it, to suppress it because I didn't want to feel it. Not knowing that when you have experienced multiple traumatic events in your life, your nervous system becomes unregulated. Your energy field becomes unregulated. Your mind, your emotions, your thoughts, all of it begins to be unbalanced. Imagine a child growing up in the type of environment where they never know if their parent is going to be angry or happy, where that child is always on edge, wondering if danger is lurking. When I can actually identify with this. Growing up, my parents would always fight. Anytime my mom and dad got together, there was going to be a fight. There was going to be arguing, cussing, screaming, yelling. It was going to be some type of drama. And this taught me to always be on edge. I learned to move around a certain way depending on how I saw them behaving. But in reality, things would always just happen out of the blue. One thing, everything would be fine, and the next, there you have it. Screaming, yelling, arguing, fighting. And I never really felt safe in that environment. So when we're talking about complex trauma is when an individual experiences multiple traumatic events for a prolonged period of time. Okay? So that is the definition. And I have my notes here so that if I'm looking to the left, that's just me reflecting so that I can be able to give you all accurate information. I'm learning about this for myself and I'm bringing it to you to also help you. Because for me, it was really mind boggling to realize that the things that happened to me shaped who I became. So for me, I can remember maybe 4 being my youngest childhood memory where crazy things was happening all the time. My mom got shot. Whew, my dad and my mom was always fighting. My dad went to jail. Um, we were homeless for a time, living in a car. Like it was one thing after another. Like when I really look back on this, it was one thing after another. And then I got taken from my dad to go live with my grandmother. And that was a major shift. So one thing after another was happening at a young age. And that's just the beginning because goodness, so many other things took place after that. So this would be a great example of complex trauma, at least one. Some of the challenges when we experience complex trauma is that it could leave us being stuck in unhealthy patterns. Complex trauma affects the way we see ourselves and how we see the world. When you've experienced complex trauma, it can make you feel unworthy. It can make you feel like you're unworthy of being loved, that the world is not safe, and that it's unsafe to show your feelings or to show emotions. These are some of the signs. So this is the thing. When you begin to understand complex trauma, this is the first step to healing. This is the first step to breaking free. Okay? This is not a life sentence. This doesn't mean that it's over for you. It doesn't mean that you'll never be better. I'm making this video today to help you identify with it so that you can change it. Everything about you changes when you experience trauma. Now, specifically with complex trauma, it doesn't just show up in flashbacks with flashbacks. It doesn't just show up with flashbacks or nightmares. It shows up in things like having difficulty trusting people, anxiety, depression, hypervigilance, always being on edge, always being nervous, not wanting to be around people, not trusting people, not wanting people to get close to you. This is how it shows up, okay? Remember this, regardless of what has happened, when it happened, and who did it, it's all capable of being healed. It does take your cooperation. It does take your permission. It does take your commitment. Okay? I am sending you so much love and so much support on this journey. I know it's not easy, but don't avoid looking at the past or your future will be compromised. Be brave, be bold, be yourself, and know that you are not alone. I am here with you on this journey. So please feel free, comment, let me know. What are some things you want to let go of? What are some things you want to get past? What are some things you want to heal? Comment, I am strong. If this video resonates with you, okay? I'm sending you so much love. This is Yazil, and I love you, and everything is going to be okay. Ashe. Straight from the source, 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 straight from the source. Straight from the source, straight from the source.